I like how I'm like, hey, you ready to go? And you're like, yeah, cool. And then you just start smashing on the world's loudest keyboard.
It's really fucking loud. Kyle hates it.
I know. Well, that's the whole point. Yo, what's up? It is the Hatening. It is our 100th episode. And so that means that this is the Guestening. So I am here with my best friend, super producer Andrew, and we are going to talk about doing creative projects with your friends.
Yes, we are. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be on the other side.
Yeah, right.
But how do we want this thing to go, you think?
So, I don't know. I kind of want to have this episode be, like I just said, like about working with your friends, like on creative projects. Obviously, you and I have been doing this for a while. We do all of my podcasts together.
Yep.
And I wouldn't be able to do this without you. And I feel like this is an important topic for anyone who exists in any type of creative field or, who does anything creative, because no man is an island, blah, 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 blah. But like, everyone's relationship to their art is unique. And then when you add someone else, it just, like the collaborative aspect of art is very interesting, right?
Yeah.
And so you and I have been working together for quite some time, not only on podcasts, but just like in general. And so I kind of wanted to, look a little bit behind the curtain and sort of, just kind of like recap on our relationship just in general, but also, when it comes to the creative stuff that we've done together,
Yeah, I was actually specifically trying to think like, since we've always kind of worked together in some capacity, I was actually even trying to remember the first time we ever met, which I cannot actually.
It was at shows. It would have definitely been like at a Canary Yellow show or at like a Vikings or a Misha show back in the day.
Oh yeah, it would have been, okay. So it would have been when you were a young warthog.
When I was a young warthog.
You would have been,
and you were
I think you were like
older
16
warthog.
And I would have been 18 or 19.
Yeah, I would have been in high school. So we've known each other since high school, but we didn't start like working together in any capacity until I was out of college. I mean, you're the reason why I was able to move to Baltimore, because you got me a job at the BSO.
We worked together the first time you called me and you asked if we could do a battle set. Actually, if our two bands could do a battle, that was the first time that we actually hung out and technically worked together, even though we didn't get paid anything to play in a barn in Mogginsville or some shit like that. I think it was. It was a
garage in Hagerstown. But yeah, so your band and then Misha did a battle set. It was a very funny
It was like
evening.
8-minute songs against 1-minute songs, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Actually, I had a lot of fun. But then, then I guess what other capacities have we worked together?
Well, like I said, so we worked in the ticket office together for a while.
Yeah.
And then,
which is neither creative nor fun.
Yeah. But we were both doing stuff at the Bell Foundry for a while. Like
that was work.
Because we were involved in different aspects of it, but we were both doing creative stuff with like the shows and shit that were happening at the Bell Foundry for a while. And then we tried to jam for a little bit. We did that for, once or twice.
Was it twice? No, I don't know.
Yeah, we did it and then like with your recording stuff, like you recorded Alter.
Yep.
And then you did and then you put out like the Joyless.
Yeah.
The Misha record.
Yeah. So we've put out like releases together. We've put together shows together. We've put together spaces for shows together. We've played shows together. There's like a lot of it is like, I mean, it's all audio oriented actually, which is cool as shit actually.
Yeah, no, it's great. And then when I was kind of, we've always been very close friends. We've been best friends for, oh God, yeah, since like 2013.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. 2013.
Yeah, so,
a decade
for a very long time.
No,
a very long time. But yeah, and then when I started talking about how I wanted to do podcast stuff, you were very supportive and you were like, I want to do that stuff too. And then so that was sort of like the genesis of, the shows that we do together too.
Yeah, which has just been it's just been a lot actually. It feels like it's been like we've been doing it for longer than we did any other project together, which I guess it kind of is. in one go at least.
In one go it is, but yeah, I was thinking that too, where I was trying to recap like the history of us like doing the show stuff, and then I was like, oh, it's only been a year.
Yeah.
But the frequency with which we do stuff, like it feels like a decade.
Yeah. No, totally. And then all the different facets of it and how we work with other people and, and on different themed shows and stuff like that. It's just like this big pile now, basically.
I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds of hours of us collaborating in some sense.
Yeah. And like just like spending time on the phone with each other.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, I think it's safe to say that I talk to you more regularly than almost anybody else.
Yeah.
Like, we legitimately talk every day.
Yeah. Actually. Yeah, there've been a couple times like recently where I didn't talk to you for a couple days and I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh shit. Yeah, I got like a little spooked. It was weird. But yeah.
Yeah.
You have to talk twice, a day. You have to talk as like friends, and then you have to talk about work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's actually like an important point. Like, when you work with your friends, when you do creative stuff with your friends, and we've already done an episode about strictly like working like a job and stuff with friends and that dynamic, but obviously this is different because this is something that you want to do and it's something that's fun for both of you, or whoever is involved, like working with friends and stuff on creative activities. And so that is very important, right? Separating like, hey, we're talking as friends now versus like, hey, we're talking as like, collaborators.
Yeah.
And I think that, you and I see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. And since we've known each other for so long, like, I know what you like and I know what you mean, and you're definitely on the same page. But, we definitely have like butted heads.
Yeah.
More than once on stuff.
There's definitely like a difference in the way that we approach like planning and stuff like that. And like that's really where like the schism between the two of us is just like my like type A-ishness. Is that what that is? I don't understand that.
Yes, you are very rigid and very unforgiving with scheduling stuff.
Yeah. Except
but
I've been slipping lately, but generally, yeah, like that's the main like schism between us, and that's when the frustration, or that's like when it's always mild, like when the mild frustration sets in.
Oh yeah, definitely. But like, you've gotten me like hooked on using fucking shareable notes and putting everything in a day planner and iCalendar and all that stuff, which has been great.
Yeah, our drive is the bomb now.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah, and spreadsheets. Like, your middle name is fucking Spreadsheet.
Oh God.
But yeah, so like when you work with your friends, you have to overcome these like, and they are minor obstacles, but they are obstacles nonetheless, because now it's like you have to collaboratively have a schedule and you have to collaboratively like, plan these things, and obviously everyone does them in very different ways. So
yeah.
Like, you and I, like, as like, anecdotally, like, I'm a little more like loosey-goosey, like, we'll do it whenever, like, call me tomorrow, and you are 100% like, no, at 5:15 my phone will ring and you better be on the other end.
Yeah. That's definitely, I mean, that doesn't cause like a ton of frustration generally, but it definitely is like I don't know, it creates like a little bit of deflection in the process. It's like, but it's also like, it's really good because it's actually taught me a lot about like the dynamic of working with people that are super close to you on stuff that is like growing in importance. Because I've also done that with like Bethany, for example, my girlfriend. Like, it's definitely like it's a weird like dojo for kind of figuring out like how to navigate the depth of relationships with people and kind of like use every facet of like your relationship that you can have,
Yeah, you use every part of the buffalo.
Yeah, that's kind of like what goes behind it.
But like, I think that's some real shit too, because like, you have to turn off like the friend brain, like you have to turn off like the friend aspect and put on like the collaborator aspect. So like, how like you talk to your friends in a certain way, but then you talk to strangers completely differently. So sometimes it's not difficult, but you have to be like, okay, like, we're not talking as friends right now, we're talking about as collaborators.
Yeah.
Like, we need to be on the same page. I love you very much, but I want to fucking kill, you know what I mean? As my friend, you're cool. As my, artistic whoever, you're driving me up a fucking wall right now.
Yeah. And you also you make a distinction You tend to do what I do, actually. We're similar in this way. We'll like dive into telling somebody about something that's like on our mind that's like kind of structured or like about like what we're working on. And then you'll use like a turn of phrase to be like, okay, now we're shifting into how are you? Like that's always what it is. That's always the drop for you where you're like, sup, no punctuation. And then like, what if we make the sticker and it looks like this? And then I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And then it'll be like a pause. And then it'll be, you'll just go, how you? And then that's us like downshifting into like, oh, well, I just got into work and like my stomach is all fucked up or whatever. And like it is like it's funny the devices that you come up with to kind of like to try to make the divide so that both like sides of the relationship are as like efficient and fulfilling as possible.
Yeah, well, that's what you have to do, right? Like, because you want to maintain this relationship with one of your best friends, but also it's like, we have to talk about what's going on in the bank account, but like, don't let me forget that I want to ask you how it was seeing your parents this weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that, especially with like our dynamic, because we are so close and we know about each other's, families and personal lives. So it really is
schedules.
Like, yeah. So you have to like really navigate that and you know what I mean? And like flip that around just to be like, we will get to, how that movie was last night, but right now we really do need to talk about what the fuck is going on with whatever that JPEG you sent me, because it is not the right resolution.
Yeah, I mean, like, that is also the funny thing about the closeness in a relationship is because we are, like, intimately aware of each other's schedules, which are, like, 3 hours apart, which is, like, another weird obstacle to add on top of, like, the whole dynamic of working with your friend and trying to, like, make progress on a project, but also being, like... I mean, luckily, most of the time I'm up at 5 a.m. and you are as well, because I'm in Los Angeles and you're in Baltimore. So,
but that is like a funny thing too, is we have to. So like, I was thinking about this also because other people had to adapt, right, to doing things remotely with their creative partners.
Yeah.
But we've been doing this from the jump.
Yeah.
So we've not only had to do things remotely, but we've also had to, work around a vast time difference.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to and like you talk to your friends who are also doing stuff and they're like, oh my God, it's so crazy. Like we have to do meetings over Skype now and we have to send stuff back and forth. And I'm like, baby, that Google Drive never stops loading. Like we are always dumping stuff in and out. So like we kind of had like that step ahead, but I think that like logistically that might be at least our biggest hurdle is the time zone difference.
Yeah. And we figured it out pretty quick. And I think it just, I don't know. I feel like just because of actually I've like kind of adapted my life to it a little to an extent.
Oh, so have I.
Yeah. Like it's kind of like become like our timeline has become like a part of my daily routine now.
Me too. Just because like when I get out on the road and I'm driving like, around 10 o'clock, that's like when you wake up. So it's always just kind of like, again, like there's the good morning text and then you kind of like,
it's never a good morning text. Like, it never starts with a good morning text.
It's sup. You get a lot of sup texts early in the morning. But yes, you are right. Most of the time it's like I wake up at 8 o'clock and I'll be like, hey, let me know when, you put this in the Google Drive. And then, oh yeah, by the way, what's up?
Oh man. Yeah.
But just
I'm trying to look for examples currently.
Oh yeah. But but just that, like having to deal with other people's schedules is something that you really need to think about when you're dealing with someone in general.
Yeah.
But then, divorce from the pandemic, like it's just kind of that's like the biggest part. One of the biggest parts of all this is, doing it remotely and just kind of being like doing it all through text messages and all through emails, as opposed to doing stuff in person, which definitely, I don't know. Like, I think that there's up and downsides.
I don't know if I'm like totally capable of it. Like, we're so wired to do things in this flow, like where you send me stuff and I send you feedback and then I, post produce it here. I don't even like when I was there visiting you for the Bolsheviks inauguration episode and like all that hangout and all those recordings for Hatening. Like it's
okay. That's a wonderful example because what did you do? You came to
I drove.
Both help me move into my new home,
yes,
friend stuff, and also work stuff because we did a Bolsheviks inauguration episode. So that's a wonderful example of like, You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it was but it also is like it's weird because it was even more like it felt like even more piled on top of like the list, or like the dynamic and the complexity of the dynamic was like double stacked on itself, and then also we were like just not seeing each other that often, because like in person at least, which I'm very much looking forward to your visitation in August. But yeah, I mean, it's just like it's also like dating somebody, like having a long distance relationship with somebody and then like coming home to see them briefly for a period and like getting used to like what it's like to be like actually physically with that person. It makes it's an odd one.
Oh, it definitely is like a long distance relationship. And that, you know, and that is something that you need to consider, because like everyone knows who's ever been in that situation. Like there are things you text and there's things you say over the phone.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't want to have your last communication be angry, or like the anxiety of being like, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
'Cause that's definitely happened with us, where like, for whatever reason, like one of us is annoyed or in a bad mood, and it's like, dude, fuck off. I love you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's just like, fuck, are they mad? Are they not mad?
Never let her leave mad at you. Isn't there like a movie?
Never go to bed angry. Yeah, it's one of those fucking things.
There's a movie about prison where they make that anecdote.
Oh, wait, what is that? It's American History X, right?
Is it? Where they're like, don't, and then she leaves and she becomes like an even crazier Nazi.
Well, it's the guy talking about like how you have like an old lady on the outside, and like you don't want to fight with her on the phone because you're going to spend the time between this and the next visit thinking about all the dudes who she's fucking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say fucking. He says something terrible, I think.
Oh, it's like coming inside of her. Like, it's gross. Ugh. Yeah, exactly. But no, like, I don't know. Are there any other, like, things that have to do with, like, working with your friends? Like, creatively, of course, that, like, you think would be...
There is, like, the band dynamic. I mean, there's, like, I've definitely done I've done some, like, weird, like, power electronics tours, and like where it's like you're not like working cohesively with a band, so it's like a weird like half friend, half like creative kind of like, you know, creative in the capacity that you're like either opening or headlining for each other in a way. And then there's like the capacity that you've toured in much more, which is like with a group that you've like worked together, you know, to create something, and then like written your own tour route and booked everything yourself, and how that kind of plays out within the equity of work. And also like these are homies, like those are like, you know, a lot of those homies are people that you grew up with and people that you knew from home and shit like that.
Yeah, I think that is that's a good thing to bring up too, because like I think a lot of people are more familiar with that like band dynamic, right, where we are one entity that is broken up into, you know, 3, 4, 5 different parts, but when we come together we are the band. But then, you know, individually we are whoever the fuck, but you only see us as the band when we are doing our creative endeavor. Whereas like with us, or like with doing the podcast stuff, like it's a little different, right? Because like we aren't the podcast, we are individuals, but then you specifically are behind the curtain and I'm in front of the curtain, but yeah, we are creative partners in this. So it's, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that dynamic is a little different. Like we're like, yes, you are the producer, but you also like have a lot of say in what I'm doing out here, the same way that like, even though I am the one talking on the microphone, like I have a decent amount of say as to what happens on the back end as well.
Yeah, it's a really different interplay than like I play the drums and you play the bass or whatever. Like it's like that. It really, there's no real like, that's not really analogous in any way, I don't think. But like it is an interesting depth. Like, and I've had that like mixing for people as well, like just like, or being like a tour manager or whatever. It is like this weird thing where you are kind of like part of it, but you are removed from it at the same time. You're not like a direct collaborator, but like you are a collaborator on in this other dimension that's like counted completely differently. But I guess, yeah, producing podcasts is a little bit different. It's a little bit closer to being like quote unquote in the band. But yeah, it's still, it is a cool dynamic.
Well, yeah, because you and I have like equal say in the project in general. Yeah. Or both of the projects too, because even with Bolsheviks, like you are, you know, like the third member of that
the screamer
crew. Yeah. But you know, but it's like when when we're planning these shows, and I don't know, like, we can get into or not get into like a lot of the stuff that it takes to make a podcast. That will be its own episode, I guess. But like, you know, like we plan all this stuff out together, and it's not like I make a decision or you make a decision. Like we run by each other, and I think that you and I work well together in general.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you've been in a band with someone for whatever, and you know, like, I can't read fucking music, but when you say, hey, I want to do a part that sounds like bloop bop bop doo 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 doo, like I know what you mean. And that's kind of the same way with us. Like if we're like trying to figure out what to do on an episode or like what we want the score to sound like or whatever, and I can just kind of be like, you know, like make it sound real psycho, but not too weird, but then like do a hard cut here. And you're like, yeah, if anyone else said that to me, I wouldn't know what the fuck you're talking about, but I know what you mean.
The space that like exists also, like working with your friends that you can't have in other like projects is like, I actually trust you like as a person, which I trust like very few of my clients, honestly, like on that level, you know what I mean? So like when you're like, yo, I have this vision and this is kind of how I want it, then I like already trust it but understand it because I have like a depth of understanding of your personality. And that doesn't really work in the same way when you're like working, when you're, you know, doing it for, you know, when you're doing it like as like your career, like kind of in a way, you know what I mean? Like when you're just like cycling through clients and stuff like that, it's a little bit, it's a different dialogue. But then the space that's given actually through the trust is really nice because you could be like, yo, I kind of want it to go in this direction, and I'm like, well, what about this? And you're like, yeah, that's totally cool. There's a lot of space to kind of go back and forth for everybody to get their say and to like for the end result to be more of like this like, you know, combined idea instead of like this, you know, one person's vision that's executed by multiple people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting part of working with a friend is because there you can be very candid.
Yeah.
At the same time, so like, and this has happened with us, like I'll have an idea and you'll be like, that's not going to work. And I'll be like, no, but I really want to do it. And you're like, dude, trust me, that's a dog shit idea. And I respect your opinion. So I'll be like, yeah, okay, I guess it is dog shit.
I've never used words like that to describe any of your ideas.
but you know, like in the same way that like, if I want to do something and I'm like very like hell bent on it, and you will give me that like leeway of being like, I don't see it, but I trust your vision enough to where like, let's see where it goes, but just know if it sucks, I'm going to tell you it fucking sucks.
Yeah. No, totally.
And you can't do that with randos. You can't do that with like clients or like strangers.
Yeah. Oh, relationships that have been fucked up by working with your friends.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think if I have any juicy ones.
So like,
I've definitely gotten in fights with people that I consider my friends that I work with.
Oh, so have I. Like, and that is something too, like because I think that you and I really only have like this type of stuff, work stuff, or like band stuff to really draw from in terms of like collaboration, like artistically speaking. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so like, dude, I cannot tell you like the fights that people get into when like creativity is involved are fucking intense because all of us are just dramatic babies anyways if you're into art. And then like telling someone that like, you know, this song doesn't work or that part sucks or we should do something else. Like there's a lot of like eggshell walking that happens when you work with someone in any type of creative space. Yeah. And so I think that you and I, again, like since we were friends first and then collaborators second, but there is still a lot of intimacy involved with our collaboration to where like, you know, like I said, like I'm not afraid to be like, I know you might not like it, but I want to try this. Or at the same time being like, I don't like your idea. Yeah. But like, I have been in like musical settings where there's just like people who you cannot do that with.
I guess that is like the weird thing is that we just can't relate to that situation in our relationship. But yeah, I guess there are situations where where people you do have to walk on eggshells.
Oh yeah, like you cannot tell them that they're wrong or that like, you know, their idea might be better if you do it this way. Like it's a lot of people become like my way or the highway. Yeah. Or they really segment a lot of it to where, and I have done this too in bands. Yeah. Where like, you know, you're working with people and you get to the point where it's like, dude, okay, you know what? If you're playing guitar, just like let me do the drum shit and you can do whatever the fuck you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like sometimes you have to do that, or because like people just don't mesh, but then like the final product is so good. And we all know those like very famous anecdotes of like they've been in a huge band for 20 years, but they don't talk to each other. But when they get on stage, baby, it's magic, which sounds like a miserable existence.
Yeah, but it all too common at the same time. Like that's the dynamic for I think so many different setups, regardless of the stakes, regardless of if you're like fucking, you know, whatever that
Your job, your career,
Rolling Stones
you know?
versus like basement homie scrams jams.
Exactly. Yeah. But you know, like I can think of like a few examples of like, you know, like friends that I have had where we've tried to, you know, jam or we tried to do whatever, and you get down in the basement and immediately it's like this would never work out. Like you cannot take criticism.
Yeah.
You cannot give constructive feedback. I mean, that's why I'm like very thankful to have you as my partner in this, because we worked well together before we started doing these various projects.
Yeah.
And then this sort of just like solidified, like, I mean, this is the most healthy relationship I have, I think.
Yeah.
I think you and I think that's probably.
Yeah. That's a strong positive for me as well.
And it's just very interesting, like just, you know, having to navigate these, like, again, because like these projects aren't like serious in the sense where it's like they pay the fucking bills, but it's also like, I mean, how many hours a week do you think we spend doing podcast stuff?
A bit. Definitely.
Exactly.
Like I've put the numbers together before. And I've screamed them at Jordan before, lovingly. Because despite how I'm painted as hating Jordan, I don't. But it's a bit. It's like it could be a solid 20 hours at times. And I'm like, you know, you gotta get dodgy with the schedule or whatever. But it just depends. Sometimes I cruise through this shit.
Exactly. But then within that, like, you know, because we dedicate a lot of time to these shows and to these endeavors. And so obviously you're going to have like frustrations and you're going to have doubts and you're going to have like days where you're testy.
Yeah.
But just like you need to make sure when you dedicate yourself to working with someone that it is someone to where like you can have a little fucking kerfuffle and then come back the next day and everything's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you have the communication skills to be like, I have to get this off my chest. You said this thing, and we have done that more times than I can count, where it's like, hey, yesterday you said this thing and it really hurt my feelings.
Yeah, there is a good amount of openness, which is also good.
Well, you have to.
It's good I mean, I think that serves both realms. There's no reason to be not open in the same capacity in either the
as friends and as collaborators.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're not going to have a healthy relationship on either of those ends unless you can fucking talk. Yeah. And so, you know,
I've had people.
You got to make.
I've had like crew members that I've hired before that I've like you know, people that were my friends and shit, and they've just been like trash, like just like the worst, and like trying to like be buddy about it but not doing anything. And then like, and that's like, that has definitely been like the most instances of me being like, oh yeah, this relationship is fucked now, I'm out. This cannot be resuscitated at all.
I've had that with like booking shows.
Oh, really? Like, oh yeah, book my band, dude. And then you do, and it's like,
so
the dude's
many
like a piece of shit the whole night.
You meet somebody on tour and it's like one of your friends, like roommates, and then they're like, my band's coming through in August, and then you like try and organize something with them, and then they're just like a nightmare, or like they come to the house after the show and they're a nightmare, and it's just like, we're never gonna fucking work. Like I will hang out with you when I'm in Detroit.
Yeah.
But like you're never coming to my house.
I definitely had like show moments like on the road where I'm like, dude, I so fuck with this dude. Like this is so tight. I wish you lived in Baltimore or like wherever I was living at the time. And then I'd just be like, oh shit, this dude's like peddling PCP and he's like terrifying actually, and I don't think I can hang at all. I have definitely a much lower threshold for like for being close to danger, and that's like also a big difference between us.
Yes, that is definitely a character difference between the two of us. But I think that also is like, you know, not to get too behind the curtain, but I think that that's kind of why our relationship works. Yeah, is because you kind of spend a lot of time like pulling me down to earth.
Yeah.
And then I spend a lot of time like trying to push you to do more like spontaneous crazy stuff.
Like kratom.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like when I go to fucking LA. I mean, that's going to be a very fun week where it's just going to be like just me tugging on the leash that you've put me on.
I'm stoked and also horrified, but I'm glad that I'm like older now and I don't live in the middle of the city and I live in like a suburb. So like there's only like so much you can like, you know, the leash is a little bit tighter in that capacity. But
oh yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. And I don't even know how much collaborating or creative collaborating we're going to do on that trip compared to like the ratio of actually just hanging out, which is always the question.
I do want to get some stuff. I do want to do like maybe like not a day,
Hell
but
yeah.
you know, like dedicate a couple hours like when we're at the at the studio just to, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure.
While we're here.
No, for sure. But it's also like that's always the thing. That was like the thing when I came out there is that it was like, oh yeah, I just ended up staying up a lot because I wanted to like work in the morning, hang, and then of course I would like go to sleep by 10 because I'm an old person. But yeah, that's always that's like the only real negative I think ultimately is the fact that you have to spend you spend the time on the working and then you spend the rest of the day on the hanging out and like the friendship shit.
But we did a good job of doing that. Maybe it was perfected towards the end, but that is like, yeah, so when you came to visit me, like it was pretty much split down the middle between like you're here as like my best friend helping me move into this house.
Yeah.
But then also you're here as like my podcast partner and we're building studio stuff.
We did all kinds of shopping together.
Oh yeah, we did everything together.
Building, we did recording.
But then but you still, even within that, like even, you know, so it's like even though the work is fun.
Yeah.
You still have to be like, from 5 to 7 we're doing work stuff, and then after 7 we're doing homie stuff.
Yeah.
And you and I
we have mostly just like me falling asleep watching Q.
Yeah, it's you demanding that we put on Harrison Ford, Tom Clancy stuff.
No, that was just to torture Jordan.
I don't know why. It was so good. I love those fucking movies.
He tortured
so much.
us. He ended up torturing us that day.
Well, that's my entire life. God, what did he do? He ate too much food and just laid on the couch and just
rubbed his tummy. No, he drank.
Tummy.
He was like, "You guys got Japanese whiskey," and he drank it, and he just like, and then he just rolled around, going, "Oh, I don't feel good." Then he watched Patriot Games, and then we realized he had zero understanding of what happened in the entirety of Patriot Games. Is it better?
Huh?
Is it better working with your friends or working with complete strangers?
So I don't know. I mean, I think that our example is different because I think that we have sort of perfected the working with a friend dynamic.
Yeah.
And we can turn it on and off.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that we work well together, is because like we legitimately will have like, here's the professional conversation and now it's done. And now here's the friend conversation and now that's done.
Yeah.
But we don't really mix them a lot because you and I have been doing these type of things for so long that we know like when to and when not to, and you don't want to muddy those waters.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You don't want to bang your coworker type of thing where it's like,
yeah,
you need to keep them separated. But in general,
are we banging? Are we coworkers that bang basically?
Yes.
Okay.
Kind of.
But yeah, I think that works.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah, we're coworkers that bang.
Damn.
Yeah. But you know, like
Deeply,
to answer that
though.
question, huh?
We deeply bang.
We look in each other's
That
eye.
would be
We
the
make love.
equivalent,
We're coworkers that make love.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. All right. Okay. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, we're coworkers that make love. Save that fucking sound clip for something. But like in all seriousness, like to answer that question, I don't really know if there is like an objective answer to that because I think it's very subjective. Like because
I know I've heard other people be like, I cannot work with my homies. Like I cannot work with. She's my best friend, but I can't work with her. I've heard that like from a million people.
Well, that sounds like a sexist, but like because she's a woman.
No,
I don't want to work with women either.
I distinctly remember a female telling me that exact thing about another best friend.
But in all seriousness, like I think it really matters, or it's really determined by like what type of work you're doing and how serious it is, right? So if you're just doing like some dumbass like basement show band, like sure, fucking do it with your friends because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're just getting drunk and you're playing stupid shows.
Yeah.
But then when it becomes more serious, or when it becomes more of like something that where you dedicate a lot of money or time or effort, I think that that's when it becomes more choosy. And I think that people fail because they can't turn off the friend thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can't be like, you're no longer Andrew, my friend. You're now Andrew, my collaborator. And as a collaborator, here's what I think, because everyone keeps their friendship emotions involved in their professional stuff. And then it becomes like, dude, you're my best friend. Why would you say that to me? Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I can't
like,
relate, but I've heard that. I've like seen that in action, but I
you
can't.
and I don't work that.
Yeah,
like our brains don't work that way, and I think that's why we can do this stuff. And like,
yeah, no, that's very astute. I have like I can't understand that emotion or that like thought process that gets you there, which is
I can't, and that's why I don't like. If you look at like my track record of like working with people, it's all like a combination of all the same people.
Yeah.
Because it's like
that's the only way to do it. That's the best way to do it, I think.
Yeah, you build up a rapport with people, and then it's like you have to figure out how people work, and I think that people are afraid to tell their friends that they don't want to do stuff with them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like people are afraid to be like, I don't want to be roommates with you.
Yeah, totally.
Like, what do you mean you don't want to be in a band with me? We've been friends for 5 years, and it's like, yeah, and I'd like to be friends for 5 more, but you and I both know when push comes to shove, we're gonna drive each other fucking crazy because you can't turn off.
Yeah.
That that part of your psyche.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting obstacle. I don't want to get like too deep into like what that says about some people, but yeah, that's a crazy.
But what do you think? Do you think that it's better to work with? Do you think that it's better to work with your friends, or do you think creatively, or do you think it's better to just like if you're going to start a band, would you rather it be a band with your homies or like a band of like wanted musician, like on Craigslist?
Yeah, I've definitely I've gone both directions on that, like studying music and stuff, like thinking about like, oh, okay, do I want to go just like study the shit out of bass and just like be that dude that just like works with whoever versus like eventually getting into composition, which was more like, it felt like I had a lot more options available to me, and it also like led to a lot more like collaborations with friends, like with people that I could develop relationships with. And I don't know, like I think that like despite my reticence at times, or like my like trying to play devil's advocate and being like, well, maybe I should just work with people that are that aren't my friends. Like maybe I should only work with people that I just like can walk away from like at the end of the day, and just be like, whatever, fuck it. But I've forced myself into like, it seems like repetitively into working with my friends or working with people that have become my friends, like while working as well, and like choosing people that I trust in that capacity to grow those relationships. I don't know if it definitely works out very positively for us. Like we have a really good dynamic in that capacity, and I think it's like, whether for better or for worse, I definitely choose to work with friends way like 99% of the time, like over people that like, you know, dry hires, I guess I would call them at work.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but I definitely still am very choosy. Because you know how people are, where you get started and they're like, we should start a band.
Oh yeah, dude. There's also that. There's always that. Yo, can you give me some loops for my podcast and shit like that? Like, yes, very much.
And like, I have become more and more like, if I've gotten to the point now where it's like, if I say like even tangentially like I will jam with you, that takes a lot of thought and a lot of kind of looking down the road and being like, if this becomes a thing, you are someone who I will be fine with being around for these extended amount of times, and you're someone who, at least from where we're standing right now, like I think that like we might be able to be like, okay, dude, we're not just drinking beer and smoking weed right now. We have songs to write.
Yeah,
you know,
we can't just like, we have to organize what we're playing so that it doesn't just sound like trash.
But I think that also like, it depends on like, that really says a lot about the company that you keep. Like, are you friends with people who can be organized when they need to, or are your friends just like guys who you do coke and watch basketball with? And either way, like that's fine, but I think there needs to be that distinction between like, do you mean what you say? Yeah.
Like, do you,
or like,
but also it's like,
you know, like
people
compartmentalizing your friend group.
Completely. Yeah. And I get the choosiness. Like I get like the looking down the line and being like, because it's really complicated finding collaborators too. It's like very complicated.
I think a lot of it too is that people don't take art seriously if that makes sense.
They,
So
like,
like
yeah.
people just think like,
There's a lot of like,
oh, you're in a band. What do? You play, you write a couple. How long does that take? 2 weeks to do?
yeah. There's there's definitely like a general misunderstanding. There's like a hobbyist, like there's a commitment. There's a depth of commitment that I think is super, like a massive spectrum. And I think how that plays out, how that plays out socially is how a lot of people end up being really fucking annoying.
Oh yeah, and it you know, like it is like kind of like dating someone too, where it's like, you know, like, oh, like, yeah, we had fun at dinner once and that's fine, but like, do you really see yourself like spending a lot of time with this person and like becoming more emotionally intimate? Because like that's what it takes to have like a collaborator, is like you will be dealing with a lot of stressful situations with this person. There might be money involved, like there might be a lot of like high stakes decisions, like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and like it's okay if you can't play well with others, but you need to be self-aware enough to kind of know that, because if not, it's going to be very frustrating.
Yeah, totally. We keep circling back to like the relationship dynamic just being like marriage or fucking a coworker. It is like a marriage. Just constantly like,
it has to be like an actual partnership, or else like it just doesn't fucking work. Okay, so one thing, so like the history of us working together, like kind of like not a Spark Notes version, but like I had wanted to do podcasts for a while, and I had bought gear, and I believe I also like consulted you over like what gear, because even before we were doing the podcast stuff, we were still talking very regularly, not every day, but very regularly. And I would, you know, like, since you're an audio professional, I would consult you with like, hey, this is what I kind of want to do. This is what I'm thinking. And so you sort of gave me like this shopping list, and I was asking you for all this advice, because at the time I was just listening to podcasts, but like band stuff was going kind of, I wasn't really feeling too fulfilled with a lot of like my other artistic stuff. I started to get all itchy. You know how it is, like you need to have an outlet. And I was kind of kicking the can down the road, and I had all the gear ready to go. And then even before the pandemic hit, like, I think originally I was like, hey man, like, will you just, I recorded these things. Will you just edit them once or twice? Will you teach me how to do it? And then you were like, well, I actually want to get into this kind of stuff, so let's just work together. And then from there, it became like this partnership that we then decided, because originally it was kind of like you were just going to like help me for a little bit doing my own thing. And then it quickly became like, oh no, like this actually could be successful, whatever that means, if we go in this together. And then that's kind of sort of like how all this started, was like you being like, this is something I might want to eventually do like for other people. So maybe let's like try and learn how to do this together. And then through us like learning how, like me learning how to do podcast stuff and you learning how to like edit them and, you know, do whatever, all that stuff, like score them, like we realize that this works well for us. And then it has grown from there, and like, and now we still are growing. And now that we have, you know, over a year of doing this together, like we have all these plans for the future that we're kind of kicking back and forth and trying to figure out, you know.
You have a really like kind recollection of like how that went, because I just like, I think I was like really like, it was like very beginning of pandemic, and I was like kind of giving you help with like, a few like this and that's like, oh, I kind of want to do this, I kind of want to do that. And like you were gonna get it was leading up to you wanting to buy, or you buying a house and shit like that. So it was like we were just chatting up about whatever. But I just like remember kind of like viciously taking the wheel from you and being like, no, you need like, let me do it. And then like, but yeah, I mean like it ended up growing into like this thing that we learned so much about. And it was like, you are accurate in saying that like, that it was a vessel for both of us to kind of like figure out how to do this thing that we were both interested in doing. But I really felt like I kind of forced myself on the situation sometimes. Like I had just been like, I was just like, I got you. Okay, yeah, let's do it. And like, kind of just got you forcefully under the wing. But
I mean, it worked. I needed it, and that again is because
it's also like an interesting.
You know
thing.
That I need that kind of structure.
Well, it's interesting. Like you think about like how these kinds of things are produced and made, and it's like, yeah, holy shit, it's like almost impossible to do it. It's hard to do with two people, like, and people have teams of much bigger teams at times, you know what I mean, to accomplish what we actually do.
Yeah. So what do you think is, so if someone asked you how this started, what would you say?
I would have said, yeah, you hit me up about, you just hit me up about like some audio stuff, because you knew that I've been working in audio for a long time, and we've actually done some audio shit together. And then basically you were like, oh, I got these files and like I want to kind of like cut them up, or like, do you know anything about like this, or how to make this sound like a little bit different or whatever? And I just started like hacking away at like these EQs and stuff, because you were like recording in like insane environments, like your mom's like living room at first. That was like the first few episodes of Bolsheviks that I got. So it was just like recorded in a cavern. And so the pandemic had just started. So I had this huge like window open up because I was touring and there was no touring at that. So it actually really allowed me to realign. Also like it allowed me to like realign with you, but also like realign like with kind of things that I do want to be pursuing and working on myself, like just in my own time. Aside from like the insane amount of production work that I'd been doing previous to that.
I think it's important to note too, like in our history for this stuff, like, so we started out doing Bolsheviks, which is my other show with our friend Jordan.
Yeah.
And then like,
what about COINTEL's?
Oh yeah. And then also COINTELBROS, I forgot about that. The conspiracy show. But even like with those, like they were fun, but they didn't really scratch the itch. And then I like had this idea of doing like a solo show.
Yeah.
And then this one, you know, became this thing where like, this was the one where you and I both came in from the jump being like, we're going to do this 100% together.
Yeah.
And so you were like, because you wanted to use this as a way to like, you know, do these like flash scores and just like, you know, really like perfect like different types of like EQ and like all this type of shit. And then I wanted it to be like, you know, something where I can get a lot of stuff off my chest and I can say whatever I want and not have to worry about whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, you trusted me to not say anything wild and I trusted you to like, you know, write good music and like to get everything done. And then like, you know, like, so it, you know, like you were the one who like came up with the idea of like getting the social media aggregator and like having these like scheduled posts and then like having everything on a regular schedule. And then, you know, like and then so like we have these photos and you and I both contribute to the photos and you and I both, you know what I mean? Like
I don't do it as much as I used to. I'm sorry.
But that's fine. But I'm just saying, like in general, like Hatening really is more of a collaborative effort than I think people realize, because my face is on it and I'm the only one that's talking. But you and I go back and forth a lot about like what episodes we're doing and like how to do them and like how to sign off and like, you know what I mean? Like there is a lot of back and forth that happens before you basically just point me in front of the microphone and say, you got 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Hatening's smooth, you know, just like everything just fell together really well. It really, like really, really well, honestly, because of that, like we both just came out at it with the same amounts, you know.
Well, we knew what we wanted to do from the jump, so it's not like I want to do my own thing and you're like, oh, that might be fun. Like we came into it being like, let's score it. Let's have every other episode have a different thing.
Like fell on top of each other.
Let's do theme stuff.
Perfectly.
Like I want to do this. You want to do that. Let's do it together. I can cover this. You can cover that. And I think that's why Hatening works.
Yeah.
You know, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Because we had our feet wet and we knew what we wanted to do and we know what we want to do.
Yeah.
And also, since we communicate well, like we can actually plan and like really like we have a vision for the show.
We could fulfill its actual potential, which actually like we're already planning for new stuff.
This is the 100th episode.
Yeah.
And so this was basically the end of season 1, as we'll call it. You know what I mean? And so we have a lot of things planned for season 2, for the second batch of 100 episodes, you know? And so we kind of know what we're doing and we know what we want with the show now. So not to give too much away, but coming in season 2, we're going to incorporate guests more. We're going to try and do a little more like themed stuff. And okay, are you going to have the new score for this episode, or is it going to be 101 that has the new?
Yeah, we're gonna have a
intro
new
and outro?
score on this, which is like
So
another
then
funny
this
thing
will all
about
get cut out, but then I'll.
No, we could leave it in. This is behind the curtain shit. Look, everybody.
But yeah, this is how we work.
You haven't even heard the
Because we'd
outro.
already-
You haven't even heard the new outro. So it's like
I haven't.
this is real like post-production magic, like in real time.
But like we're gonna do a new intro, new outro, and new music underneath, and we're doing all these things for these episodes. And again, these are things that like Andrew and I plan throughout the day. So we'll be driving, like we'll be working, and I'll be like, hey, what's up? Like, I made this really good pasta last night. I'll send you the recipe. Oh yeah, by the way, what do you think about like having new intro music for the second 100 episodes? And then you'll respond, and I'll be like, oh yeah, like I haven't seen this new Godzilla movie that they just put the subtitles on, but anyway, like,
Yeah, we use
That's, like,
the walkie
how-
app as the
how
shit.
this works.
It's the glue of our relationship.
Free, bro! Alright, I'm here for it. What's I have a hellish day ahead of me, but I'm gonna do everything. Oh, I didn't think you were actually gonna respond.
We have a lot of ideas that we're still really kicking around, but now that we have 100 episodes under our belt, and we knew that going in, we were like, let's get to 100, and then we'll figure out where we go from there. And the show has been, I think, steadily getting better. We haven't perfected the formula, but we're getting close to. We know what we're doing now. And so now we're going to start adding. Now we're comfortable where we are. And so now we're comfortable enough to start adding more variety in, because we have the rhythm down and the flow down. You know what I mean? Like, I have my recording schedule down. You have your mixing schedule down.
Yeah.
So now we have allowed ourselves more freedom to now do this new tier of things that we have been trying to do with, this is like kind of what we want to do.
Yeah, 100%.
So now we're at this new level. So we're going to be incorporating more stuff into the show while still keeping it the Hatening. We're not going to, it's not like a whole fucking rebranding, but
More features.
yeah,
More treasure
we
troves.
understand how to do the Hatening now. And so now we can make it closer to what we wanted in the
We
beginning.
get to spread the hate.
We are going to just fucking heat up that knife and then just spread it on that cold piece of bread. And it spreads a little bit better now because the knife is a little hotter.
Ugh.
So now you get to end it. You get to do a Hatening outro.
Oh shit! I don't even know if I can.
You can do it. Try it. Try and do it.
I could do the I feel like I could do the Bolsheviks one so much better. But that's it. Thank you so much for listening. You can check us out. What's the website again? You'll find us. You'll find us at thehatening.org. We'll have some new shows coming out soon. Please feel free to interact with us. Feel free to check out what we're doing. Feel free to check out what the Bolsheviks is doing. Check out what our extended family are doing.
But you hear it all the time. I just want to hear you try and do
the
it.
order, like remembering the order is
yeah.
Wait, it's thehatening.transistor.fm? Oh, it's not.
Don't plug the website. Just say you can find us because they're already listening to us. So just say, and then you have to do the signature sign off.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for listening. Wait, hold on. How do I want to do that?
No, that's it. Oh my god.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. From there, you can find us on social media as well. You can find our other shows. You can also find our individual profiles. And you can engage with us. There's a Patreon. Please feel free to reach out about it.
There isn't a Patreon for Hatening.
There is if people reach out about it. There is a Patreon. I demand it.
I have spoke it, so I shall be it.
And take care of the people around you, and don't forget to tell your friends that you love them.
That's pretty good. Yeah, to take care of yourself and the people around you. Don't forget to tell your friends you love them.
I'm not going to say it the exact
You got
same
it.
way as you.
No, I know. I think that you did it. I think that you did it well.
Okay.